Hello everyone, today we return with another peaceful and joyful episode in the lives of Tien and Jack. During the early days of spring, the small garden behind Jack and Tien's farm seems to wear a beauty of its own. The soft morning sunlight gently spreads across each row of vegetables and every branch of the plants, creating a scene that feels both warm and calm. The fresh air of the early morning mixes with a gentle breeze drifting through the garden, making the space quiet yet full of life. The scent of moist soil after days of watering, the smell of fresh green leaves, and the faint fragrance of wild plants blend together, forming a soothing atmosphere that makes anyone who steps into the garden feel relaxed and peaceful. In that garden, the tomato plants have entered their most fruitful stage of the season. Clusters of tomatoes hang heavily from the branches, some still bright green, others beginning to turn a soft shade of red, signaling that they will soon ripen. From a distance, the intertwined tomato vines form beautiful patterns of green and red. The plump tomatoes appear to welcome the first sunlight of the day, glistening softly under the gentle light of a spring morning. Jack has been standing by the tomato trellis since early morning. He carefully observes each branch and patiently ties up the ones weighed down by too many fruits. The tomato vines stretch out quite far, carrying many clusters of tomatoes that cause the stems to lean slightly downward. Without support, even a strong gust of wind or the sheer weight of the fruits could cause the branches to break or touch the ground. Jack understands this very well, so he works with great care. One by one, he gently ties thin strings to the trellis, lifting the branches higher so the tomatoes will not touch the soil. While tying the branches, Jack also takes time to trim away some of the older leaves. The yellowing leaves or those that grow too densely are carefully removed so the plants can breathe better. When sunlight can reach the fruit clusters beneath the leaves, the tomatoes will grow healthier and ripen more evenly. This is a piece of experience Jack has gained after many seasons of tending this small garden. On the other side of the garden, Tien is busy with her own tasks. She bends down to pull out small weeds growing between the vegetable rows. Her movements are slow but careful as she works while observing which plants might need extra attention. Occasionally, Tien lifts her head and glances toward the tomato trellis where Jack is working. Her gaze rests on the heavy clusters of tomatoes, and a gentle smile appears on her face. Seeing the vines filled with fruit makes her feel quietly happy. The effort they have put into caring for the garden over the past months is finally showing clear results. The healthy, vibrant rows of vegetables are the reward for many days they spent working side by side from early morning until late afternoon. Tien wipes her hands lightly and calls out to Jack. "The tomatoes this year are really full of fruit, aren't they?" Her voice echoes softly through the quiet garden, causing Jack to turn and look over. He glances at the tomato vines he has just tied neatly and nods. "Yes. Once the branches are tied up, you can see all the fruit clearly. In a few more days they'll probably all turn red." As he speaks, Jack looks at the clusters of tomatoes peeking beneath the leaves. A few fruits have already started to change color, a sign that with just a few more sunny days, the entire trellis will soon glow with bright red tomatoes. The two of them continue their work, chatting casually while they move. There is nothing particularly extraordinary about the moment, yet those simple conversations make the garden feel warmer. The sound of footsteps on the soft soil, the rustling leaves stirred by the breeze, and their quiet voices blend together to create a peaceful morning of work. After finishing most of the tomato branches, Jack dusts off his hands and walks over to where Tien is working. Seeing her still carefully pulling weeds between the vegetable rows, he crouches down to help gather the weeds she has already removed into small piles so they can be cleared away more easily. While Jack continues working on the weeds, Tien stands up and walks toward the corner of the garden where a water container is placed. She pours some water into a cup and brings it back to him. Under the morning sunlight, the cool cup of water looks refreshing after working for a while. She hands the cup to Jack. "Have a drink so you won't feel thirsty." Jack takes the cup from her hand, a faint smile appearing in his eyes. "Have you had any water yet?" Tien gently shakes her head. "I just drank some earlier." Jack takes a few sips. The cool water flows down his throat, bringing a refreshing feeling after working in the garden. After that, the two of them sit down for a short rest under the shade of a large tree nearby. From there, the entire garden stretches before their eyes with its lush green vegetable rows and thriving plants. While sitting there, Tien suddenly remembers the market trip she made the day before. She tells Jack that yesterday she brought some cabbages from the garden to sell at the market. Although the cabbages were not very large, they were fresh, so they sold fairly quickly. Each one sold for 10,000 dong, she says. She looks toward the cabbage patch at the far end of the garden and continues explaining that there are still quite a few cabbages left that she hasn't taken to the market yet. If she sells the rest, it might bring in a few 100,000 dong more. The amount may not be large, but it is enough to help cover small daily expenses. "I'll take the rest to the market tomorrow, otherwise the cabbages will get too old," Tien adds. Jack nods as he listens. He also looks toward the cabbage rows growing well in the garden. "All right. Then one day you should make cabbage rolls for me." Hearing that, Tien laughs softly. "Of course." After resting for a few minutes under the tree, the two of them stand up and continue their unfinished work. Jack returns to the empty patch of soil in the middle of the garden and begins loosening the soil with a rake. With each steady movement, the surface of the soil gradually becomes smoother and cleaner, preparing the ground for new vegetable rows. Meanwhile, Tien walks along the garden beds, observing the plants while thinking about what vegetables they should grow next season. After considering for a while, she suggests to Jack that they might plant amaranth and wild bitter melon. These vegetables are quite easy to grow and would suit their small garden well. As they continue working, the two of them discuss how to rearrange the garden beds. Beneath the gentle sunlight of early spring, the small garden remains lively with familiar daily tasks. New rows of soil are gradually prepared, the tomato vines are neatly tied, and the peaceful atmosphere around the farm remains unchanged. By noon, when the sun had climbed higher and its warm light covered the yard in front of the house, Jack and Tien had nearly finished their work in the garden. After an entire morning of steady effort, the small garden looked much tidier and fresher than before. The tomato trellises were neatly tied, the vegetable beds had been cleared of weeds, and the soil had been raked smooth, ready for the next planting season. The space around the farm became quiet and peaceful again, with only the soft sound of the wind moving through the trees and the gentle scent of freshly tended garden soil lingering in the air. Tien walked into the house. After washing her hands carefully, she opened the basket of oranges placed on the table and picked out several of the freshest ones. The oranges were bright golden and plump under the midday light, making her smile softly. She cut them in half and squeezed each piece into a clear glass. Streams of bright orange juice flowed into the cup, carrying a fresh citrus aroma that quickly spread throughout the small kitchen. In just a short while, 2 glasses of orange juice were neatly arranged on a tray. Meanwhile, Jack had just finished washing his hands at the water basin outside in the yard. He wiped his hands dry and walked over to the familiar wooden table placed beneath the porch roof. Sitting down on the chair, he gently stretched his back after a long morning of working in the garden. The midday breeze blew softly, making the air feel far more comfortable. Tien carried the tray of orange juice outside and placed it on the table. The 2 glasses of bright orange juice looked refreshing in the soft noon sunlight. She set one glass in front of Jack and said cheerfully, The oranges are really sweet. Jack picked up the glass and took a sip. The fresh sweetness of the orange mixed with a light hint of sourness spread across his taste buds, making him nod slightly. They really are sweet. He took another sip before placing the glass back on the table. Tutien sat down beside him, holding her own glass of orange juice. The two of them drank and chatted casually, sharing simple conversations in the peaceful midday moment. While they were talking, Jack suddenly remembered something he had heard people in the village mention a few days earlier. Today there was a spring festival in the neighboring village, a festival that people from the surrounding areas eagerly attended every year. He turned to Tutien and said, "How about we go to the festival today? I'd like to take you and Mom there for some fun." Hearing this, Tutien immediately became excited. A spring festival always brought a lively and joyful atmosphere, especially after days of quiet work on the farm. She nodded right away. "That sounds great." The two of them quickly stood up to get ready. After changing into neat clothes, they went over to invite Jack's mother so the whole family could attend the spring festival together. When they arrived, they saw that she was busy arranging a few things in the house and could not leave immediately. She looked at the two of them and smiled kindly. "You two go ahead and enjoy yourselves. I'll come later when I'm free." Her voice was gentle and caring, just as it had always been. Jack and Tutien looked at each other and nodded. Standing quietly on the porch, she watched the two young people standing side by side. In the gentle noon sunlight, Jack and Tutien looked harmonious and happy together. Seeing them like that warmed her heart. A soft smile appeared on her face, the simple joy of knowing that her family was still peaceful and together. Yet deep in her heart, she still carried a small worry. There had still been no clear news about Mrs. Thursday, and that uncertainty sometimes weighed on her mind. Still, she said nothing. She simply stood quietly and watched Jack and Tutien as they prepared to leave. After leaving the house, Jack took the motorbike and drove Tutien to the Long Tong Festival, the traditional going to the fields festival celebrated by ethnic communities in the northern mountainous regions. The road leading to the festival was much busier than usual today. From far away, they could already hear the lively sound of people talking and laughing. When they arrived, the festival scene appeared vibrant and colorful. Small stalls were set up everywhere, selling various handicrafts, traditional clothing, and many items rich in the cultural identity of the mountain ethnic groups. Bright brocade fabrics with intricate patterns hung neatly on display, while carefully crafted bamboo and rattan items caught the attention of anyone passing by. Tutien walked slowly, carefully observing each stall. Her eyes clearly showed her excitement as she admired the cultural items. "The things here are really beautiful," she said. Jack followed her gaze and nodded. He pointed toward a musical instrument hanging at a nearby stall. "That's a tin tao lute, a traditional instrument of the Tien Nun people." Tutien looked at the instrument hanging on the rack and nodded thoughtfully. The traditional sounds of that instrument seemed to make the festival atmosphere feel even more special. The two of them continued strolling through the festival grounds. Besides the market stalls, there were also many traditional folk games attracting large crowds of participants. Laughter, cheering, and lively voices filled the air, making the atmosphere even more energetic. In a small muddy field nearby, many people were participating in a fish-catching game. The players waded into the mud, trying to catch fish swimming beneath the surface. Every time someone managed to grab a fish, bursts of laughter and cheers erupted around them. This was one of the traditional festival activities, symbolizing wishes for a year of abundant harvests and prosperous living. Tutien stood watching for a while. Seeing everyone laughing and enjoying themselves made her feel happy as well. The festive atmosphere seemed to lift everyone's spirits. After walking a little farther, Jack noticed a dart-throwing game where players could pop balloons to win prizes. Colorful balloons were pinned to a board, and players stood a short distance away to throw darts at them. He turned to Tien and said, "Let me give it a try." The stall owner handed Jack 3 darts. He held them one by one, aiming carefully at the balloon board. The first dart flew through the air. Pop! A balloon burst. The second dart followed. Pop! Another balloon exploded. People nearby began paying closer attention. Jack held the final dart, aimed carefully, and threw it. Pop! The third balloon burst as well. 3 darts, 3 balloons, all popped. The people standing around clapped in admiration. Jack had won the game. The vendor smiled and handed him a small flower as the prize. Jack took the flower and turned toward Tien. With a gentle smile, he offered it to her. "This is for you." Tien accepted the flower from Jack's hand. Her eyes sparkled with happiness. "Thank you, Jack." It was only a very small gift in the middle of the lively festival, but to Tien, that little flower carried a very special meaning. In that moment, surrounded by the joyful atmosphere of the spring festival, she could feel the simple yet sincere care that Jack had for her. That afternoon, as the sunlight gradually softened and the festive atmosphere still echoed throughout the area, Jack and Tien continued strolling together among the lively crowd. The small paths weaving between the market stalls were still busy with people passing by. Laughter, traditional music, and the cheerful sounds of folk games blended together, creating a very special atmosphere that belonged only to the early days of the spring festival. The two of them walked slowly through that colorful space. From time to time, they stopped in front of a stall to admire the beautifully crafted handmade items. Bright brocade fabrics, bracelets woven from colorful threads, and small embroidered bags decorated with traditional patterns all carried a simple yet captivating beauty. Tien observed everything around her with great curiosity, her eyes sparkling with excitement at the vibrant scene of the festival. Jack walked beside her, occasionally telling her about some of the cultural traditions of the festival that he had learned over the years. To him, festivals like this at the beginning of the year were not only a time for fun and entertainment, but also a chance for people to meet, share stories, and welcome the new year with hope and optimism. Tien listened attentively, sometimes nodding and smiling. The simple conversations between them made their walk feel warmer and more intimate. Time seemed to pass very gently. The afternoon sunlight slowly turned into a warm golden color, covering the festival grounds with a soft and peaceful glow. In the distance, the fields and the mountain ranges behind them gradually faded into the light of the approaching sunset. Although the festival was still lively, the atmosphere seemed slightly calmer after a long day of celebration. Jack and Tien continued walking around the festival one more time. They were not in a hurry, they simply walked slowly and enjoyed the atmosphere of the first days of spring. Moments like this might seem ordinary, but they brought both of them a deep sense of comfort. There was nothing extraordinary happening, no grand events, just peaceful moments shared between two people enjoying a joyful day together. Tien was still holding the small flower that Jack had given her after winning the dart game earlier. From time to time, she looked down at the flower and smiled softly. The gift was simple, but to her it carried a special meaning. It was not just a prize from a game, it was a small memory from a joyful spring day. Seeing Tien smile like that made Jack feel lighter as well. Life on the farm was often busy, filled with daily work and responsibilities, but days like this allowed them to relax and enjoy life at a slower pace. They did not need long trips or grand adventures. Simply walking together through a lively spring festival was already enough to bring warmth and happiness. The afternoon slowly passed in a peaceful and cheerful atmosphere. The sounds of the festival still filled the air, yet in Jack and Tutien's hearts there was a gentle calm. As they walked together among the bustling crowd, they both realized that simple joys like this were what truly made life meaningful. These small but sincere moments helped them understand that happiness does not always come from grand or distant things. Sometimes happiness can be found in something as simple as tending the small garden behind their farm together in the morning, tying up the tomato vines heavy with fruit under the soft light of a new day. Happiness can also be found in resting together under the shade of a tree, sharing a cool drink while talking about the ordinary things of everyday life. And sometimes, happiness is simply walking together through a lively spring festival, sharing smiles, gentle conversations, and peaceful moments of life. Looking back on the day that had just passed, both Jack and Tien felt their hearts filled with a quiet sense of peace. Those small joys might seem simple, but they reminded them to cherish what they already had. Life on the farm might not be exciting or fast-paced, yet it was precisely that simplicity that brought them the most sincere and warm moments. And so the story of Jack and Tien on this first day of spring gently comes to a close here, leaving behind light but meaningful memories. If you enjoy these peaceful moments in the lives of these two characters, don't forget to follow the channel so you can continue joining them in the stories ahead. New journeys and new stories are still waiting in the chapters to come.
Hello, xin chào mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đang làm video về câu chuyện của tự Tiên mọi người ạ. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ lên video vào buổi sáng. Ở bên mình thì là buổi sáng, nhưng mà chắc mọi người nếu mà xem thì chắc là nó sẽ rơi vào buổi tối. Thì cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều vì đã theo dõi và ủng hộ cho kênh mình. Hôm nay thì kênh mình đã bắt đầu khởi sắc và bắt đầu có người xem hơn. Hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ đăng ký kênh và ủng hộ cho kênh mình nhiều hơn nữa. Và bây giờ thì mình đang đọc tên cho video. Mình muốn đọc những cái tên thật hay và ý nghĩa để mọi người có thể nhìn thấy tên video là sẽ nhấn xem. Cảm ơn mọi người rất là nhiều. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video tiếp theo. Tạm biệt mọi người nhé.